He wakes up early every day, fighting against loneliness and the harsh realities of life. But on one ordinary day, something different makes him stop. A woman trapped in her wheelchair. By helping her, he loses the only livelihood he has. Little did he know that this act of kindness would change the course of his life forever. If this story caught your interest, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and tell us what city you're watching from. And now, our story. The alarm went off at 4:30 a.m. as always. Luke opened his eyes in his small apartment in Queens, New York, and for a second he still felt the weight of the dream he'd just had. He was dreaming of his parents, of the house where he grew up, of the smell of the coffee his mom used to make on Sundays. But reality came back fast, like a sharp blow. He'd been alone for 3 years, ever since he lost them both in a bus accident on I-95, alone, but still standing. He got up, took a cold shower because the water heater had broken last week, and he didn't have the money to fix it. He put on his red grocery store uniform, ate 2 slices of toast with margarine and left. The building's hallway smelled like mildew and reheated food. He walked down the 4 flights of stairs because the elevator had been broken for months. Outside, the street was still dark. A few stray dogs were rummaging through trash bags, and an old man sweeping the sidewalk waved at him. Luke waved back. He took 2 crowded buses. On the first, he was squeezed between a woman with shopping bags and a man who smelled like booze. On the second, he managed to get a seat by the window and rested his head against the cold glass. He watched the city wake up. Bakeries opening, people running to catch their ride, kids in school uniforms waiting at the bus stop. The same thing every single day. He worked as a stocker at the Key Food in Astoria. It wasn't his dream job, but it paid the $700 rent and left a little over for food and his Metro card. His boss, the manager, Mark, was a nervous man with a thin mustache and a hard stare. He didn't like Luke, that much was clear. Maybe because Luke never backed down, never pretended to be less than he was just to please someone. When he got to the store, it was 6:40 a.m., 20 minutes late. Luke knew he was going to get an earful, but as he crossed the parking lot, something caught his attention. A wheelchair stopped under the sun even though it was just the start of the morning, and an elderly woman stuck in it. The chair was locked up, one of the wheels caught in a pothole in the asphalt. The woman was waving her arms, trying to free herself, but she couldn't. Her face was red and sweaty. She looked exhausted. Luke glanced at his watch. He looked toward the entrance of the store. He saw the manager, Mark, inside, arms crossed, staring at him through the glass. But he didn't think twice. He dropped his backpack on the ground and ran to the woman. "Hey, ma'am, are you okay? Let me help you with that." The woman looked up, startled at first, but then relieved. Luke knelt, carefully unlocked the wheel, pulled the chair back, and pushed it into the shade of a tree. He took the small water bottle from his backpack and offered it to her. "Here, ma'am, have a little water." The woman drank slowly, her hands trembling. She must have been in her 70s, with white hair tied in a bun, wearing simple but clean clothes. She seemed lost, as if she'd forgotten where she was. "Thank you so much, son. I don't know what happened. The chair just got stuck and I was waiting for my granddaughter, but she must be running late." Luke stayed with her, talking, asking if she was all right, if she needed anything else. The woman smiled. It was a fragile smile, but full of gratitude. He noticed she had a gold wedding band on her finger, old and worn. He also noticed she was wearing a discreet pearl necklace that shimmered a little in the strengthening sunlight. Just then, the manager, Mark, came out of the store. He walked quickly with that determined stride of someone about to explode. "Luke, what do you think you're doing? You're already late and now you're wasting time with whatever this is." Luke stood up, trying to explain. "Mr. Miller, the lady was... I don't care. Do you think I pay you to play Good Samaritan in the parking lot? You think this is a charity? I'm tired of your lack of commitment, Luke. You're fired. Get your things and get out." Luke felt the ground drop out from under him. Fired. Just like that, in front of everyone. A few customers who were passing by stopped to watch the scene. The woman in the wheelchair turned pale and tried to say something, but the manager had already turned his back and gone inside. Luke stood there, taking a deep breath. He wasn't going to cry, not there, not in front of anyone. He picked up his backpack, looked at the woman, and said in a steady voice, "Don't you worry, Mom, this isn't your fault. It's all going to be okay." And he walked away. He didn't look back. At that moment, on the other side of the parking lot, a young woman, about 25, was getting out of a luxury car. Marina. She was in a hurry, her phone ringing non-stop, her purse slung over her shoulder. She had gone to pick up her grandmother from a doctor's appointment but was late, because a meeting ran long. When she saw the scene, she froze. She saw the young man in the red uniform walking away, saw her grandmother in the wheelchair under the tree, saw the manager walking back into the store with a superior air, and something inside her twisted. She ran to her grandmother. "Grandma Beatrice, I'm so sorry I'm late. Are you okay?" Her grandmother grabbed her hand, squeezing it tightly. "I am now, dear. But that young man saved me. He stopped everything he was doing to help me, and he was fired for it in front of everyone. Fired, Marina. For being kind." Marina looked in the direction Luke had gone. She could only see his silhouette disappearing around the corner. Something stirred inside her. It wasn't pity. It was something bigger. It was admiration. It was anger at the injustice. It was a feeling she couldn't name, but it stayed there, throbbing in her chest. Luke walked. He walked for hours. He didn't have money for the bus ride back. He'd spent his last few dollars on the trip there. The sun was high and scorching. He took off his uniform shirt, leaving on the white t-shirt underneath. The streets of New York seemed endless. He passed busy avenues, streets full of shops, dark alleys. He passed people selling water at traffic lights, men pushing shopping carts full of cans, women with children in their arms asking for change. He knew all of it. This was his world. When he finally got home, it was almost 10 in the morning. He panted up the 4 flights of stairs, his body aching, his head pounding. He opened the door to his apartment and sat on the living room floor. He looked around. The bills on the coffee table, the rent, due in 5 days, the nearly empty fridge, the old couch that had belonged to his parents, the peeling paint on the walls. And now, no job. He just sat there, trying to think, trying to find a way out. But his mind was too tired. He lay down on the couch and closed his eyes. He didn't sleep. He just lay there, staring at the ceiling, feeling the weight of it all. There was a knock at the door. It was Nancy, his next-door neighbor, a thin woman in her 60s with thick glasses who lived alone with a fat cat named Whiskers. Luke always helped her with her groceries, with changing a light bulb, with anything she needed. She knew he had lost his parents. She knew he was alone. And even though she didn't have much, she had a huge heart. "Luke, honey, I saw you come in. Is something wrong?" He opened the door, trying to smile. "Hey, Nancy. Just a bad day." She came in, sat on the couch next to him. She was quiet for a moment, then pulled a $50 bill from her purse. "Here, I know you don't like to take things, but take it this time. You're always helping me with Whiskers, always carrying my groceries. Let me pay it back." Luke looked at the money. $50. It was so little, and yet it was everything. It was bus fare to look for a job for the whole week. It was bread, rice, beans. It was the difference between giving up and keeping on. "Nancy, I can't." "Yes, you can, and you will, because I'm old and stubborn, and you're not going to argue with me." He took the money, hugged her, and for the first time that day, he felt like maybe he wasn't completely alone. "Nancy, thank you so much. I swear I'll pay you back." "You don't have to pay back a thing. You just have to keep being who you are." She left, and Luke stood there, holding the bill. $50. He was going to make it count. He would look for work. He would knock on every door. He would do whatever it took, because giving up was never an option. In the days that followed, Luke woke up even earlier. He printed out resumes at the public library, paying $2 for 10 copies. He went out, knocking on doors. Bakeries, grocery stores, hardware stores, auto shops. He offered his strength, his will, his honesty, but the answer was always the same. "We're not hiring. Leave your resume, and we'll call you. We don't have any openings right now." He managed to get a few odd jobs. He helped unload a truck of vegetables for a street market, earning $20. He painted the front of a small diner, earning $50. He carried furniture for a move, earning $30. By the end of the week, he had $120 in his pocket. It wasn't enough for rent, but it was something. He went to the neighborhood church, St. Peter's, where he always went on Sundays. He wasn't very religious, but he liked to sit there in the quiet and think. Father Michael was a man in his 50s, bald with an easy smile, who knew everyone in the community. When he saw Luke come in, he waved. "Luke, my son, it's been a while. Sit down, let's talk." They talked. Luke told him everything. The priest listened, without judgment, without empty advice. He just listened. And at the end he said, "I know some people who need guys for a construction site over in the Bronx. It's hard work, but they pay fair. You want me to talk to them for you?" Luke felt his heart speed up. "Yes, Father. Thank you so much. Tomorrow morning, 7 o'clock, stop by here and I'll give you a ride." Luke left the church with a smile on his face. It was a chance, a new beginning. Are you enjoying this story? Tell me what you think of it and how you think it will end. The next morning, Luke was in front of the church at 6:45 a.m. Father Michael arrived right on time, driving an old but well-kept white Ford Focus. They drove to a construction site in the Bronx, where a new apartment building was going up. The foreman, a big guy named Vince, wearing a yellow hard hat and an orange vest, looked Luke up and down. "You got any construction experience?" "No, sir, I don't, but I'm a fast learner and a hard worker." Vince was quiet for a few seconds, chewing on a toothpick. Then he nodded. "All right, start Monday, 6 a.m., $1,200 a month plus a Metro card. You prove yourself, we'll put you on the books in 3 months. Luke could hardly believe it. He shook Vince's hand firmly. "Thank you so much. You won't regret it." On the way back, Father Michael smiled. "See, God never abandons those who have faith and work honestly." Luke thanked him, got out at the park near his apartment, and just sat there on a bench watching kids play ball, dogs run around, old men play dominoes. He felt a peace he hadn't felt in a long time. He had a job, he had a chance, he was going. He was to make rent, he was going to get back on his feet. Everything was going to be okay. Meanwhile, on the other side of New York, on the Upper East Side, Marina woke up in her enormous suite with a view of the treetops and the blue sky. But the luxury brought no peace. She looked at the wedding dress hanging in her walk-in closet, white lace, incredibly expensive. She was getting married in 2 months to Henry Montgomery, heir to a chain of luxury car dealerships. A handsome, well-mannered man in an impeccable suit with a rehearsed smile. A man her mother Claire had chosen for her. Marina got up, showered, put on a beige pantsuit and went down for breakfast. The table was set with a linen tablecloth, fine china, fresh fruit, artisanal breads, and fresh squeezed juices. Her mother was already there, reading the news on her tablet, wearing designer glasses and with her hair perfectly styled. "Good morning, Mom." "Good morning, dear. Did you sleep well?" "I did." A lie. Marina had barely slept. She kept thinking about that guy from the parking lot, the guy who had helped her grandmother, the guy who had been fired for doing the right thing. She didn't know his name, didn't know who he was, but she couldn't get his image out of her head. The way he had knelt to help Grandma Beatrice. His patience, his kindness, his dignity, even while being humiliated. "You have your dress fitting today at 3 p.m. Don't be late." "Okay, Mom." "And tomorrow we have dinner with the Montgomerys. Henry wants to discuss the final details for the wedding." Marina nodded but said nothing. She ate half a piece of toast, took a sip of orange juice and stood up. "I'm going to go out for a bit." "Where to?" "I'm going to visit Grandma Beatrice." Claire looked up from her tablet, suspicious. "Again? You were just there yesterday." "I like spending time with her, Mom." Claire sighed. "Fine, but don't be long. You have appointments." Marina grabbed her purse and left. She drove to her grandmother's house, a charming old brownstone in Brooklyn Heights, surrounded by trees and flowers. Grandma Beatrice was on the porch, sitting in her wheelchair, knitting. When she saw Marina, she broke into a huge smile. "Marina, my dear, what a lovely surprise." Marina kissed her grandmother's forehead and sat beside her. How are you, Grandma? Fine, fine. But I'm still thinking about that young man. You know, Marina, I tried to find out his name. I went back to the grocery store yesterday, but the manager wouldn't give me any information. Said he couldn't release data on ex-employees. Ex-employee, as if he wasn't unjustly fired. Marina felt her chest tighten. I've been thinking about him too, Grandma. Her grandmother stopped knitting and looked deep into her granddaughter's eyes. You like him? It wasn't a question, it was a statement. Grandma, I don't even know him. But you felt something. I saw it. I saw the way you looked at him. Marina looked away, fidgeting with her nails. Even if I did feel something, it doesn't matter. I'm getting married, Grandma. To a man you don't love. I like Henry. Liking isn't loving, Marina, and you know it. Grandma Beatrice placed her wrinkled hand over her granddaughter's. My child, I've lived 82 years. I married your grandfather when I was 20, and we had 60 years together. 60 years of true love. And I'll tell you one thing. True love isn't comfort. It isn't convenience. It isn't what society expects. True love is what moves you, what pulls you out of your comfort zone, what makes you want to be a better person. Marina felt her eyes well up. But what about Mom, and the family, and everything that's been planned? It's your life, Marina, not your mother's, yours. They sat in silence for a while, listening to the birds sing, feeling the cool afternoon breeze. Grandma, how do I find him? Her grandmother smiled. You go looking. You find out where he lives. You cross the entire city if you have to, because if there's one thing I've learned in life, it's that you can't let love slip away. Marina left her grandmother's house determined. She went home, turned on her laptop, and started searching. Social media, neighborhood groups, anything. But she didn't even know his name. How was she supposed to find him? Then she remembered. The uniform. It had the store's name on it. Key Food. She could go back there, try to find out something. The next day, she went to the store. She walked in, looked around. She looked for someone who seemed willing to help. She saw a young woman, about 20. Stocking shelves. She approached her. Hi, sorry to bother you. Did you know a guy who used to work here? He was fired a few days ago. The young woman looked at her, suspicious at first, but then she seemed to remember. Luke? Everyone here was so mad about what happened to him. He was a good guy, the manager's a jerk. Luke. So that was his name. Do you know where I can find him? The woman thought for a moment. I don't know where he lives, but he always mentioned he went to St. Peter's Church, out in Queens. Maybe someone there knows him. Marina thanked her and left the store, her heart racing. Queens. It was far. It was a borough she'd never been to. But she was going. She had to. On Saturday morning, she got in her car and drove to Queens. The GPS said it would be an hour-and-a-half trip. She crossed the city, watched the landscape change. The buildings became simpler, the streets narrower, the energy different. When she got near the church, she parked her car and started walking. She was wearing a simple light blue linen dress and flat sandals. She tried not to draw attention, but it was impossible. The imported car, her clothes, everything screamed that she wasn't from around here. She walked the streets, looked at the houses, the people. Kids flying kites, women washing their stoops, men talking on the corner. It was a world completely different from hers, and it was real. Pulsating. Alive. She went to the church. It was closed, but she saw a man sweeping the courtyard. Good morning. Do you know a young man named Luke? The man stopped sweeping, looked at her. I do. Why? Marina didn't know what to say. I need to talk to him. The man was silent, sizing her up. Then he said, he lives over there, in that corner building. Apartment 203. Marina thanked him and walked to the building. It was an old 4-story building with peeling paint and an external fire escape. She walked up slowly, her heart pounding. When she reached the door of 203, she stopped, took a deep breath, and knocked. Luke opened the door. He was shirtless, wearing old shorts, his hair wet. He had just gotten out of the shower. When he saw Marina, he froze. Hi, I know this is weird, but I had to find you. I'm the granddaughter of the woman you helped, Beatrice. Luke's eyes widened. How did you find me? Marina gave a small, embarrassed smile. I went looking. I wanted to thank you, and get to know you. Luke was speechless. He looked at her, then at the apartment behind him, then at himself. He was barefoot, shirtless, and his home was a tiny box. And there she was, beautiful, in a dress that probably cost more than his rent. Come in, sorry about the mess. Marina stepped inside. The apartment was small indeed, a living room with an old couch, a kitchenette, and a door that must have led to the bedroom. But it was clean, organized. There were photos on the wall, a smiling couple. They must have been his parents. Luke quickly pulled on a t-shirt and offered her the couch. Have a seat. Can I get you some water? Sorry, I don't have much else to offer. Water would be great. He brought her a glass of water and sat on the other end of the couch. They were silent for a few seconds. Is your grandmother okay? She is. She won't stop talking about you. She wants to thank you in person. There's no need to thank me. I just did what anyone would have done. But not everyone does, Luke. You lost your job because of it. He shrugged. I already found another one. I'm starting at a construction site on Monday. It'll all work out. Marina looked at him, at the way he spoke, so calm, without any bitterness, at his eyes, brown and honest, at his calloused hands, the hands of someone who works hard. And she felt something she had never felt before, a connection, a certainty that this person in this moment was important. Luke, I know we don't know each other, but can I ask you a question? Sure. Are you happy? He was surprised by the question. He thought about it. I don't know if happy is the right word, but I'm at peace. I wake up every day, I work, I fight, I keep moving forward. And for me, that's a lot. Marina felt her eyes well up. I have everything. Money, comfort, security. But I don't know if I'm happy. They looked at each other. And in that gaze, everything passed between them. The distance between their worlds, the impossibility, but also the desire, the curiosity, the beginning of something neither of them could name. Do you want to get some coffee with me? Luke took Marina to a diner on the corner. Joe's Diner, a simple place with formica tables and plastic chairs, but they made the best coffee in the neighborhood. They sat by the window. They ordered 2 coffees and buttered toast. Marina looked around, curious. People talking loudly, laughing, arguing about the Yankees game on the TV. The smell of fresh bread mixed with brewed coffee. It's different, huh? Marina looked at Luke and smiled. It is. But it's good. It's real. They talked. Luke told her about his parents, the accident, the years he'd spent alone. He told her about the jobs he'd lost, the hardships, but also about his dreams. He wanted to have his own company one day. He wanted to build affordable housing for people like him. He wanted to make a difference. Marina listened to it all, captivated, not by the tragedy but by his strength, by the way he had turned pain into purpose. She opened up too. She told him about the pressure, the arranged marriage, the feeling of living someone else's life. She told him she studied business because her mother wanted her to, that she worked at her family's company but felt no passion for it, that she was engaged to a man she barely knew. You don't love him? No, I don't. Then why are you going to marry him? Because it's what's expected of me. Because my mother has planned everything. Because I don't know how to say no. Luke took her hand across the table. It was a simple gesture, but it made Marina's heart race. Marina, life is too short to live for other people's expectations. I lost my parents too soon, and if there's one thing I learned, it's that you have to spend every second doing what makes you happy. She looked at his hand on hers. Calloused, strong, honest. So different from Henry's hands, always soft, manicured, impeccable. I wish I had your courage. You do. You just have to find it. They stayed there for 2 hours, talking, laughing, sharing stories. When they left the diner, the sun was setting. Marina looked at the orange sky at the kids still playing in the street, at the streetlights starting to flicker on. She felt a peace she hadn't felt in years. "Luke, I really enjoyed meeting you." "Me too. Can I see you again?" He hesitated. He knew this was complicated. He knew they came from different worlds. But there was something about her that pulled him in. Something real. "Yes." They exchanged numbers. Marina drove home slowly, as if trying to stretch out the time. When she arrived at the mansion on the Upper East Side, her mother was furious. "Where have you been? You missed your dress fitting." "I'm sorry, Mom, I lost track of time." Claire looked at her daughter, suspicious. "What's going on with you, Marina?" "Nothing, Mom. I'm just thinking." Thinking about what? Marina went up to her room without answering. She lay on her enormous bed, picked up her phone and looked at Luke's number. She thought about sending a text, but she didn't know what to say. So she just smiled, because for the first time in a long time, she felt something other than emptiness. In the following days, Luke started his new job. The construction work was tough, carrying bags of cement, mixing mortar, climbing up and down scaffolding. But he didn't complain. He worked hard, learned fast, and earned the respect of the other workers. Vince, the foreman, was impressed. "You're good, kid. Keep this up and I'll have you doing better things soon." Luke was grateful, coming home exhausted every day, but happy. And every night before he went to sleep, he exchanged texts with Marina. They talked about everything, about their day, about their dreams, about their fears. She told him about the wedding preparations she didn't want. He told her about the construction site, his co-workers, the feeling of building something. A week later, Marina asked to see him again. They met at the same park where he'd taken her the first time. It was a Saturday afternoon. Luke got there first, sat on a bench, and waited. When he saw Marina approaching in jeans and a white blouse, her hair down, his heart skipped a beat. "Hi." "Hi." They walked through the park, watched the boys playing ball, the dogs running. They stopped at a churro stand. Luke bought two. They ate as they walked, laughing, talking about everything and nothing. And at some point, without planning it, their hands found each other. They laced their fingers together and kept walking. But the happiness was short-lived. On Monday, Luke discovered something that made his world collapse. Vince called him into the site office and showed him the project paperwork, the company that owned the development, Montgomery Enterprises, Marina's family's company, and worse, her fiancé, Henry, was one of the directors. Luke felt anger rise in him. He felt like a fool. Did she know? Did she know he was working for her family? Was this all a game? A charity case? He left the site before his shift was over and went to her house. He buzzed the intercom. The maid answered and said she would get her. Marina came running down. When she saw his face, she knew something was wrong. "Luke, what is it?" "Did you know?" "Know what?" "That I'm working for your family's company. That your fiancé owns the damn construction firm where I bust my ass all day." Marina turned pale. "I didn't know, Luke. I swear I didn't." "How am I supposed to believe that? How do I know you're not just having fun with a poor boy?" She felt tears stream down her face. "You know that's not true." "I don't know anything, Marina. We live in different worlds. You have everything. I have nothing. And now I find out that even my job comes from your family. It's humiliating." "Luke, please." But he had already turned his back. He walked away quickly, without looking back. Marina stood there at the gate, crying, not knowing what to do. 2 weeks passed, 2 weeks of silence. Luke didn't answer her texts. Marina tried going to his apartment, but he wouldn't open the door. She cried every night. Her mother asked what was wrong, but she couldn't explain. The wedding was a month away. The invitations had been sent. The caterer booked. The church reserved. Marina was trapped, and Luke was alone, drowning himself in work, trying to forget. Until one Thursday night, Luke's phone rang. It was an unknown number. "Hello?" "Luke, it's Marina. I'm calling from a friend's phone. Please don't hang up." He almost did, but he couldn't. "What do you want, Marina?" "My grandmother had an accident. She fell at home, hit her head. She's in the hospital. I don't know what to do. She's asking for you." Luke felt his chest tighten. "Which hospital?" Mount Sinai. I'm on my way. He took one bus, then another, arriving at the hospital close to midnight. He ran to the front desk, asked for Beatrice's room. He took the stairs, not wanting to wait for the elevator. When he reached the hallway, he saw Marina sitting in a chair, her face swollen from crying. When she saw him, she stood up, ran, and threw herself into his arms. Luke cried with her. He held her tight, felt her body trembling against his. She's going to be okay. She has to be. They held each other there in the cold hospital corridor, as doctors and nurses passed by. They stayed like that until Marina stopped crying, until the world outside ceased to exist. When they pulled apart, they looked at each other, and in that look they saw everything. The love, the fear, the impossibility, but also the certainty that they couldn't run anymore. They couldn't deny it. Marina, I'm so sorry. I was an idiot. No, you were right. I should have told you. I should have been honest. It doesn't matter anymore. What matters is that I love you. Marina felt her heart explode. I love you too. They kissed right there in the hospital hallway that smelled of disinfectant and buzzed with the sound of machines. But to them, it was the most perfect place in the world. When the doctor came out of the room, she gave them the news. Beatrice was stable. She had a few stitches in her head, but she was going to be fine. They could see her. They went into the room together. Her grandmother was in bed, pale but awake. When she saw them holding hands, she smiled. You two finally stopped being so stubborn. Marina laughed through her tears. Grandma, you gave us such a scare. I know, but it was worth it. Just look at you two together. Luke moved closer, took her hand. How are you feeling? Better now, son, better now. Beatrice was in the hospital for 3 days. Luke and Marina took turns staying with her. They talked, they planned, they dreamed, and they made a decision. They were going to be together, no matter what anyone said, no matter the consequences. But they knew the hardest part was yet to come. Marina would have to break off the engagement. She would have to face her mother. She would have to choose between comfort and love. And Luke would have to prove he was strong enough to stand by her side, not with money, not with status, but with character, with hard work, with truth. The following Saturday, Marina woke up with her heart pounding. This was the day she would do what she should have done months ago. She was going to end her engagement. She put on a simple black dress, tied her hair in a bun and wore no makeup. She wanted to be natural, to be real. She went down for breakfast. Her mother and father were there. Henry had come over too. They were discussing wedding details, flowers, music, the guest list. Marina sat at the table. She took a deep breath, and she spoke. I need to say something. Everyone stopped talking and looked at her. I'm not getting married. The silence was deafening. Claire dropped her fork, staring at her daughter as if she had just uttered the craziest thing in the world. What do you mean you're not getting married? Marina, the wedding is in 3 weeks. I know, Mom, but I don't love Henry. And I can't marry someone I don't love. Henry's face turned red, not with sadness, with anger, with wounded pride. Are you serious? After everything that's been planned, after everything my family has invested in this? Marina looked at him. She saw a man who had never truly loved her, who wanted her as a trophy, a piece in a social game, and she felt sorry for him. Henry, I'm so sorry, but it would be unfair to both of us to go on with this. Robert, Marina's father, who had been silent until then, spoke up. Marina, what's going on? Have you met someone? I have, Dad. I met someone who makes me feel alive. Someone who respects me, who listens to me, who makes me want to be a better person. Claire shot up from her chair, furious. Who is he? Where is he from? Can he give you the life you have here? He's a construction worker, Mum. He works on a site. He lives in a small apartment in Queens. He doesn't have money, or a family name, or anything you consider important. But he has character. He has kindness. He has truth, and I love him. Claire nearly fainted. You're insane. Throwing everything away for a... Be careful what you say, Mom. Robert stood up and touched Claire's arm. Claire, calm down. "Marina, honey, come here, let's talk." He led Marina into his office. They sat on the leather sofa. Robert looked at his daughter with eyes full of worry, but also something she didn't expect. Understanding. "Marina, I'm not going to pretend I'm not concerned, but I'm also not going to pretend I haven't. Seen how unhappy you've been these past few months." She looked at her father, surprised. "You saw?" "Of course I did. You're my daughter. I've known you since you were born, and I watched you fade, disappear, become a shadow of the person you've always been." Marina felt tears stream down her face. "Dad, I know this is going to disappoint you and Mom. I know you planned so much, but I can't live this life anymore." Robert hugged his daughter. "I just want you to be happy, Marina. If this young man makes you happy, then I'll support you. Your mother will take a while to accept it, but she will too, because deep down she loves you too." Marina cried on her father's shoulder. She cried with relief. She cried with fear. She cried with hope. When they returned to the dining room, Henry was gone. Claire was sitting down, her eyes red. She looked at Marina. "Are you sure about this?" "Absolutely, Mum." Claire took a deep breath. "Then go. But know that you're giving up everything. The house, the comfort, the status, everything." "I know, and I accept that." Marina went up to her room and packed 2 suitcases with simple clothes, a few photos, some books. She left the jewelry, the designer dresses, the expensive shoes. She wouldn't need them. She went downstairs, hugged her father, nodded to her mother, and walked out. She drove to Queens. She parked her car on Luke Street, walked up the 4 flights of stairs and knocked on his door. He opened it, surprised. "Marina, what are you—" She dropped her bags on the floor and hugged him. "I broke off the engagement. I chose you, I chose us." Luke was speechless. He hugged her back, held her tight, felt his heart explode with happiness and fear. "Marina, are you sure? Because I have nothing to offer you. This apartment is tiny, I don't make much. I can't give you the life you had. I don't want the life I had. I want a real life, with you." They kissed. And in that moment, they knew they would face everything together. The first few months were hard. Marina shared the 1-room apartment with Luke. They slept on the pull-out couch, used the same small closet, split the bills. She sold her luxury car, bought a used one, and started tutoring local kids in English and business. She discovered a calling she never knew she had, and Luke kept working at the construction site, but now with even more determination. Nancy, the neighbor, was charmed by Marina. The two became friends. Marina learned to cook from her, learned to do laundry in the sink, learned to save every penny, and Luke learned to receive love, to trust, to believe he deserved to be happy. 6 months later, Vince called Luke into his office. "Luke, you're one of the best guys I've ever had, and I want to offer you a partnership. We're going to start a construction company focused on affordable housing. Are you in?" Luke could hardly believe it. It was exactly what he had always dreamed of. He accepted on the spot. He invested everything he had saved, took out a small loan, and together with Vince, he opened New Home Construction. They started small, building simple houses for low-income families. But their work was honest and well done, and soon they began to grow. Marina, with the money she'd saved from selling her car and from tutoring, helped set up a small office. She handled the administrative side, the finances, the contracts. They worked together, dreamed together, built together. Marina's family slowly started to come around. Beatrice had always supported them, visiting every week, bringing cake and stories. Robert started coming too. He was impressed by Luke's drive, by the way he treated Marina, by the business they were building, and one day he offered financial help. Luke proudly declined. "Thank you, Mr. Montgomery, but we want to do this our way, with our own sweat." Robert smiled, and in that moment he gained enormous respect for his son-in-law. Claire was the last to accept. But when she saw her daughter happy, truly happy, working, laughing, glowing, she couldn't deny it. She visited them one Sunday. She brought a cake. She sat on the pull-out couch that they had now managed to replace with a real bed. She looked around. The apartment was small but clean, organized, and full of love. "Marina, I came to apologize." Marina was surprised. "Mom, I was wrong. I tried to fit you into a mold that wasn't yours. I wanted you to live the life I thought was right. But you found your own path, and I can see that you're happy, happier than I've ever seen you." They cried together, and on that day the family truly came together. 2 years later, Luke and Marina got married. It wasn't in a luxurious ballroom, it was in the neighborhood park, the same one where they had talked for the first time. The chairs were borrowed from the church, the flowers were picked from neighbors' gardens, the music was played by a group of young men Luke had hired at his company. There were few guests, but they were the ones who mattered. Nancy, Vince, Father Michael, the construction workers, Marina's students, their family. And, of course, Beatrice, sitting in the front row, crying with joy. Marina wore a simple white dress she bought at a downtown shop. Luke wore a suit that had belonged to his father, tailored by Nancy. When they exchanged their simple silver wedding bands, they looked into each other's eyes and saw everything they had built, everything they still would build. The reception was filled with beer, soda, snacks the neighbors had made, and a simple chocolate cake. But there was joy, there was music, there was dancing, there was real love. That night, lying in bed in the apartment that was now a little bigger because they had managed to rent the one next door and knock down the wall, Luke and Marina talked. "We did it. We did. And this is just the beginning." They fell asleep in each other's arms, dreaming of the future, of the house they were saving up to buy, of the children they wanted to have, of the construction company that kept growing, of the classes Marina now taught at a local non-profit, of everything that was still to come. The story of Luke and Marina wasn't a fairy tale, it was better. It was real. It was a story of two people who chose love above all else, who left behind comfort, status, and expectations to build something true, who proved that love knows no social class, isn't measured in money, and can't be bought with luxury. It was a story about courage, about choosing to be happy even when the whole world tells you you're wrong, about finding beauty in simplicity, about building brick by brick a life worth living, and when, 5 years later, new home construction became one of the most respected firms in New York, when Luke was invited to give talks on social entrepreneurship, when Marina opened her own vocational school, when they had 2 children and bought a house in the same neighborhood where it all began, they looked back and knew. Every sacrifice, every tear, every moment of fear had been worth it. Because that's what true love is. It's choosing, every day to stay. It's building together. It's turning the impossible into the possible. Their story didn't end with a happy ending. It ended with a happy beginning. Because every time they woke up together, it was a new start, a new chance. To love, to fight, to win. And so, through ups and downs, victories and defeats, laughter and tears, Luke and Marina proved that the greatest act of rebellion in a world divided by class and prejudice is simply to love. To love for real. To love without fear. To love forever. End of story. Dear listeners, we hope the story of Luke and Marina has touched your heart. If you were moved, please leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and tell us in the comments what part resonated with you the most. Every day we bring you intense stories, like this one, revealing the deepest parts of the human soul. We'll see you in the next episode.